Welcome, guys. It's Danny Glover from Fight Talk Live. We're here with Base the Kid and October Red. You know where it is. How you doing this evening, guys?
Oh yeah, good evening, good evening. You know what I was supposed to do? I was supposed to put this on, but I was trying to go live on my IG. Hold on a minute. How'd you put this up? I can't even see it, but never mind. It was
You gotta
supposed to
put it
go.
on the overlay, not the background.
Yeah, you know what? It is what it is. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to all the listeners. It's good to be back. Like I said, we're gonna do the necessities, which is please subscribe to all of our channels. They're all listed on there. You've got Base the Kid, the hardcore casual, Danny Glover from Fight Fan TV, and you've got Maestro A as well. He's got his channel. He's not with us this evening. I think he's out celebrating all things love. But us guys, because we love each other so much, we decided to stick together. So obviously, Maestro loves his partner more than he loves the gang, but it is what it is.
You know,
You
I'll
know what they
blame
say,
you.
bros before. Anyway, so we are here this evening, and I guess what? It's me that's hosting it. I don't really know where to start because it's been an absolutely hectic week. There's been a lot going on. But what I'm going to do is probably start with obviously the title Fruits of Labour. We've had a bit of controversy this week. We've had Base the Kid and Danny and Maestro in our little group chat talking about some fruits, some specific type of fruits that got delivered to our boy Keyshawn Davis out there, out there in the US before his fight against the Ukrainian. He started a little bit of havoc on X as it does, havoc on Instagram. Base had his own theories. Danny had his. Meanwhile, I'm going up and down to Manchester to different press conferences and whatnot. So what actually happened with that? Because I heard T.O.'s name get thrown in there. I think I'll go to you, Danny. Talk to us about that, and then we can go onto that fight as that's the topic as such.
Yes. Well, earlier this week, subsequently, a box of fruits was delivered to Keyshawn Davis's hotel room, which contained bananas and watermelons. Keyshawn would have initially just thought that it was Dennis Berenchek or his team doing it as some kind of thing to get into his head, wind him up, get under his skin. But you know, some people like Base the Kid, he believed it was somebody else. Due to cultural things, where I said personally that if it was just bananas, then I would have thought, yeah, because I know European football, they've been known to throw bananas on the pitch, where whether in England and certain other Eastern European countries where they're a bit hooligan-y. But with the watermelons, that's a bit. You've got to really be in the know. That's more of a, what do you say, a delicacy type of knowledge to be for putting watermelons to someone of FBA lineage like Keyshawn Davis, who's from the South. So yeah, I'll let Base unpack the rest since he was on the money.
Cluso.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was obviously it went in the chat. Maestro was at the press conference and he informed us of the situation. And I got to the chat late. I was busy doing some other things, and then I was reading through it, and it was talking about the watermelon and stuff. And then I saw Red's reactions. I'm like, okay, because obviously we, as black people, we have very intimate knowledge of a lot of racial different things, whether it's overt or covert. But when I'm hearing about it, I guess similar to what Danny's just said there. First thing I said is, yeah, I just don't believe this. And Red, you questioned, you was like, why? And I thought, good. So now I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like the Ukrainian way of quote unquote racism is gonna be like that. I think, like Danny said, the watermelon thing, that's not something that someone is gonna know offhand, especially Dennis Berenchek, who doesn't live in the States. Like if he lived over there, okay, maybe there's an argument, but he doesn't. And then I was even saying, well, look, for even in like football terms, the racism that I kind of see, a lot of it with the bananas as such in Europe is like in Italy. I don't really see that in France or Germany or the other places. There might be other things, but there's that. So I was just looking at saying, yeah, I don't really feel it was that. Then, you know, obviously Maestro he came with his stuff with all of the other issues that he has with Dennis Berencek and some of his beliefs or whatnot. But I was still like, look, that in itself doesn't pertain to, just because he may have these beliefs, that doesn't make him guilty of this. And I was very quick to, you know, I tried to be very detached. I tried to emotionally detach myself from a lot of different things. Some people, it's easier for some than others, and I get that. But yeah, when I was just sort of going through, I was like, yeah, this doesn't really make sense. This doesn't seem correct. And I was like, I don't know. This has to come from someone like of an American background. Then we start hearing rumors, and funny enough, it was initially I saw the tweet from Teofimo Lopez, and at first I wasn't sure if he was just like trolling the situation, making fun of it, or if he was basically saying, oh yeah, no, that was my handiwork. Then I saw a video from Ring IQ where he basically said that he thought it was Teofimo Lopez, but funny enough, the video came out late, and after he basically done his segment, he put an update into that segment saying, showing Teofimo watching the press conference, eating the banana, laughing, and he's like, okay, so he's basically just confirmed my initial suspicions, and it all stems back to when Keyshawn Davis and Teofimo Lopez was having a sparring session about 4 or 5 years ago. Keyshawn got the best of Teo, and then apparently Teofimo's dad decided to have some choice words of the N variety, to which point he got stomped out in the gym, and Teo couldn't do nothing about it. Obviously, you know, Bear Brothers, and it's just Teo and his dad in there, and he's probably been harboring feelings since then. Okay. And with the whole Ryan Garcia issue that took place last year with a lot of his racial stuff towards Devin Haney and a bunch of other people feel as if Teofimo has now almost become emboldened to do it because Ryan did it and got away with it. And since then, you know, and he's done a lot of videos recently where he, not recent like right now, but a couple months back, where he was like, when they were saying, oh, well, who of these guys do you want to fight? And he was saying things like, whichever monkey wants the banana. And he's been saying a lot of racist things for the last 6-7 months. And a lot of it is about, yeah, sort of monkeys and bananas, etc., etc. So when you see the package and then you see him laughing about it afterwards, it seems as if, yes, all of it leads towards Teofimo. Again, I can't 100% say it was, because he hasn't come out and outright said it was me, but it just, a lot of it leads to that being the conclusion by most people. So Keyshawn Davis was on a live, and he actually apologized on that live. Well, not for I'm sorry, but he acknowledged that it wasn't Berencek's team. So he said his bad for that, and he was going to acknowledge it and say that at the weigh-in until Berencek pushed him off the stage, in which case, okay, game on. But then he also said, look, Teo, you all right, if that's how you gonna be, like, you know, you ain't never gonna get this payday off of me, so you know, I ain't gonna never fight you now. And that seems to be the way that they settle things in America now. It's to not fight them rather than to, you know, go in the ring and punch your man up. They're like, no, I don't want to give you the payday. And that's how they choose to do things. So yeah, that's pretty much the way it's kind of it's gone in terms of that scenario. And I guess we just have to leave it there for the moment. Teo is just a deplorable human being. Just even if this wasn't him, just in general, he does a lot of very deplorable things. It seems like his whole mental psyche has been destroyed ever since that ever since the George Kambosos loss. He's been off the deep end on a lot of different things. So yeah, the less said about him, the better. But a lot of them seem to have banded together now and said that, yeah, we're not, you know, you're not getting no paydays off of us. Let's see how much of a star you really are, and we'll see what he carries on and continues to do moving forward.
Yeah, and it seems he's got to be in his bonnet from when he was talking about, oh, well, if you want to keep those black fighters at top rank, you do it. I brought Bud Light over here. and he was moaning. From then, it really started. And even when I posted him, and I said, I think this is Tiafimo was the main culprit. He framed Berenchyk. Then he inboxed me with clapping hands, kind of to confirm that I've kind of cracked the case.
Pardon? You?
Yeah.
You put it in the group, didn't you?
Yeah, I put it in the group.
You know what? Because I've been distracted. I've been all over the place. So I didn't even take any notice of that. He put clap hands to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he added Tio in his thing saying, "Oh, I think I cracked the case. It looks like it was Tio," and then Tio responded to it in the obviously with the clap hands in the inbox.
Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
it is what it is. But we move. Thankfully, if Maestro was here, we'd have probably had another 25-minute segment on this.
Yeah, with pictures and diagrams included. Shout out to Maestro. But like you said, and it don't give it any air. It is what it is. Kishon went in there and done a beautiful job anyway. Well, I don't know. I didn't get to. I've only seen like the highlights of the fight, the odd hours of the morning. I was out and about anyway because it was the evening of love. So I didn't get to watch it. So I don't know if you guys want to break down that fight. Is there anything to break down? The card, obviously, Jared Anderson. I'm hearing stuff that he's not quite the same. I don't know. Anybody want to pick up on that? Because I didn't watch that card.
Well, I saw highlights of Jared Anderson. I didn't watch the full card because I don't even know why. I think I was working or something, or I was tired or something. But yeah, I saw him getting caught. He managed to get the W, but yeah, he was getting caught
on the floor.
Fling what?
Didn't he throw the man on the floor?
Oh yeah, I saw. Yeah. He kind of hip tossed him on the floor. He got caught a few times, and yeah, he won on points. I saw the main event where Keyshawn Davis. He looked good. He looked a lot physically bigger than Berenchyk. He hit him with a left hook to the body as Berenchyk dipped down in the third round, which was an unusual way to drop a person with a body shot. I haven't really seen someone drop someone with a body shot in that manner. But he managed to get up, and then he busted him up in the fourth, and then he reminded me a bit of Terence Crawford versus Ndongo, the way he finished it, where they were sort of trading on the inside, and he managed to catch him with a left hook right into the ribs, into the liver type of area, and Berenchyk just stayed on his knee for the full 10 count. But it reminded me of that kind of finish, the Ndongo Terence Crawford fight down at was that at 140 or 135? I think it was 140 actually. Yeah. But yeah, it reminded me of that finish. And yeah, he was jumping for joy. And he's managed to be one of have the least amount of fights to win a world title at lightweight. He's matched Oscar De La Hoya's record of 14 fights needed. And it's Teofimo Lopez and somebody else who've got 12 fights. I forgot who the other person was. But yeah, he's in the top 4 of least amount of fights needed to win a world title at lightweight. So well done to him.
Yeah. Base, anything on that?
No, look, I was shocked. Obviously, I predicted he'd win. I thought it'd be more of a points job. Obviously, I know that he's like bigger than Berenchyk, but I didn't actually realize just how much bigger he was until they got in the ring. And Berenchyk's been a natural lightweight his entire career. So it's not like he moved up there. He's always fought at lightweight. But I think there's a theory around that, which is something that I've noticed from a lot of the Eastern European type guys. A lot of them fight closer to their walk around weights than a lot of other guys from Britain and America and such, because they're not dehydrating themselves during training camps. They are staying hydrated. So where they fight at is not too far away from where they are. So very few of them are cutting like 15, 20, 25 pounds to make weight. They're cutting like 10 to 13 to 14. So when they actually obviously when you get the other guys who look emaciated on scales, when they sort of balloon back up, you get these ones, they just look naturally bigger. But when it came to Berenchyk, obviously he's a very talented guy, very awkward. It's very hard to sort of read his rhythm, but the whole fight was very bitty, very like you know, it was a bit of a hug fest. It was a bit sloppy, very messy. Both of each other they were shooting over the top of each other's heads, dipping low, getting in clinches. But anytime that Berinchyk threw a shot from either the orthodox or the southpaw stance, it felt like there was nothing there. It almost looked like if you was fighting a toddler and they just sort of tap you on your on the you know, on your thigh or something. They just didn't look like there was any power. Whereas anytime that Keyshawn landed anything, whether it was a jab, backhand, even just so when he fell into the clinch, you would see Berinchyk visibly move, and it wasn't him moving away. He was being pushed by the shot. So when I saw that from like round 2 onwards, it was just like, okay, maybe this fight isn't going the distance. And ultimately, the first body shot dropped him, but I thought initially it looked like it might have been a tangle of legs till you see the replay, and no, like he was on his way down before the legs even sort of touched each other. And then from that happened, I said, oh yeah, this definitely ain't getting 12 now. And again, he's in there, he's managing to land a couple of shots here and there, but nothing major. Again, no reaction, no, there's just nothing to deter Keyshawn. But every time he's touching, Berinchyk flying back. He's, they're tangling legs now. He's all over the place. And yeah, from 3rd round, 4th round, it was just nothing. They ended up in an exchange, and that was probably the worst thing that Berinchyk did at that moment, because in the exchange he extends that arm out. Keyshawn manages to catch him with that little that sweeping uppercut to the to the ribs. It didn't even look like it connected fully, but it caught him enough to take the wind out of him. Went down onto one knee. Whether he could have got back up or not, I'm not sure, but he was in pain, and he got counted out. Fight's over. Keyshawn's a new WBO lightweight champion. He said that he goes, I'm trying to call out two of the other champions here, but they don't want that work. So he's probably not got long left at that weight, because he is a very big guy. He'd probably move up to 140 if he can't get a unification within his next 2 fights or so. But it was a good performance. It was even better than I was expecting, although the fight itself wasn't a great fight to watch. And obviously the highlight of it was the knockdown. But I can't necessarily blame Keyshawn for that, because he has given me a lot of good quality fights in the past from his limited pro career. But yeah, shout outs to him. Commiserations to Berinchyk. That might be his lot now. I don't know what he'll do moving forward, although maybe it would be nice to see if he could go down to 130 and see if he can just have a little bit of a play around down there, because I definitely think he can make that weight. He might have a bit more success with those guys that are much naturally smaller than these big 135 Americans, Brits that just rehydrate up to crazy weights, and he's still looking around like 143, 147 or whatever. So yeah.
What about Jared? Did you watch that one?
No, I didn't see it. I was looking for it online. I didn't see it on Top Rank's channel. Didn't see it on Sky Sports. I heard about it, and from just what I heard, it went the distance. It's not really something that I'm keen to revisit at this point. But I've said, and I haven't. Obviously, the video will come out when this finishes. I'm not going to judge him based on this one. I'll judge him based on his next fight, because obviously this is the fight straight after the knockout. Yeah, it may not have, maybe it would be a bit harsh to expect too much from him. So I'll reserve judgment on him and where he's going until the very next one.
Is Sugar still training base? Or Danny?
Sure. I don't think so.
No, I tried to find it online as well, and on YouTube there was nothing. It was just people's reactions to it. And I agree with Base. Yeah, you can't really judge him off this one. Really and truly, if this was back in the day, where people talk about the good old days, he would have been on a untelevised portion, during the rebuild. But obviously, with these days, everything, when you're a brand name, everything's televised. All your fights are televised. You don't get to do.
There's nowhere to hide, is there?
off circuit rebuilds and then come back onto the broadcast. So there's nowhere to hide. So people need to take that into consideration as well when you're talking about the recent fighters compared to the quote unquote good old days.
Yeah, what I want to say, sorry, admin, just before I go on, if you've just joined us, welcome to our Sunday segment of Fight Talk Live. We usually start about 8 p.m. We are streaming across all of our platforms at the moment, but if you could subscribe to Fight Talk Live, there was a little bit of an admin error, and I've got to put my hands up for that. I kind of like messed the channel up, so we're on a rebuild for that, but we're going to stream across this one. But if you could, please head over and subscribe to Fight Talk Live. Let me just go in the chat because pleasantries, you guys, the subscribers, the listeners.
One sec, Red. Sorry, just before you do that, just to let them know, if you're watching it through my channel, the Fight Talk Live channel is in my description box. I hope it is also in Red's description box and Danny's. But if it's not, like, just go onto YouTube and type in Fight Talk Live 2025. It should show up from there if you can't see it.
Okay.
On screen.
Let me put that in my description box.
I need to do that, but I won't be doing it just yet. Let me shout out to Hot Pies. Good evening to you. Philip Answer. Good evening to you as well. Reese Cooper. Grant Lomas, Untraceable, how you doing? Shout out to everyone that's in the chat. Azza, good evening to you as well. Richard Brown, good evening. Virtuoso, we see you as well. Yeah, Maestro definitely did make it clear, Untraceable. And Philip answer, it's a very good question, but we've kind of covered that. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. And yeah, he did. D-Star Boxing, good evening to you. JDM said T.O. is still mad his wife left him for a brother. I didn't even know that. I don't even know, allegedly. We'll put that in front of it. Veritas Adastra, good evening to you. Nathan, good evening to yourself as well. And Abdullah Mason, yeah, like I said, I haven't had a chance to watch it, so I haven't seen the fights. J7 quite rightly says Mexico does this payday thing as well. Look at what Canelo's done. So yeah.
Well, Britain started that, to be fair, because Ricky Hatton did that with Junior Witter back in the day, where he was like, "Oh, Junior Witter's disrespected him," even though he wasn't. He just wanted to fight, and everyone wanted to see the fight. He's like, "Oh, I'm not going to give him a payday," but really, it was ducking, in my opinion, and many people's opinion, because there was no reason for it really. And then Amir Khan was doing that with Kell Brook for many years until he ran out of options, and then obviously you saw what happened in the end.
Yeah, Nathan's put a bit of a different one in here. Nathan, good evening to you. Dubois defending in US against Anderson is a good fight, and for Triple D, profile. I would have probably said Moses, but you know, obviously Triple D's got his stuff to do. Keyshawn Davis versus Andy Cruz. Interesting. Let's have a look. Kind of like Keyshawn, he associates with Bod Shakur and Floyd. And Alexander Wilson, good evening to you, said Jared Anderson was terrible. They said that, did they? They've said that this is his last fight with Top Rank. Interesting.
I know Bruce Tramper said that he wasn't like, look, if you want it, like, you've got to go out and get it. But I didn't hear anyone say that would be his last fight.
Let us know the source if you can in the chat. Bacoli really, messed him up. Christopher Anthony, good evening to you. Daniel J. Boltan, good evening. And Alcoya, good evening to you. I haven't seen you in a minute. Junior Witter was all wrong for Hatton. He would have beaten Hatton.
Yeah.
There we go. Gosh, where do we start? I mean, we've covered that. I don't know if there's anything else US side that you want to cover, because I want to go back to the beginning of the week to obviously talk about the Queensbury DAZN fight cards, but I don't know. Do you want to cover any other fights like?
Yes, shout out to Oscar Duarte from last night. That was probably the best card that was on this weekend, like from start to finish. I don't remember. I didn't get to watch it in full because I was kind of a bit in and out of sleep, but at parts. But yeah, it was, that fight was the most fun, action-packed, like casual, friendly fight of the weekend. So shout out to Duarte for for getting that dub. He called out Arnold Barbosa, but Barbosa obviously looking for the champions, but considering that Tio probably won't fight him, he may not have a choice but to fight Duarte when he eventually gets elevated to the full WBO super lightweight champion, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I saw the finish. It came up on my Instagram. You know that some when people post it, come on the Instagram. People's uploads, and I saw the finish of Duarte stopping the guy. It looked like a good finish, but that's literally all I saw. But it was a good finish by him.
We have been spoilt for like boxing across obviously the waters to the UK. It's like literally boxing marathon. So apologies to our US guys if any of you are tuning in from the US. It's been a little bit scatty with our coverage, but there has been a lot of fights on. It's been a busy week in the UK for boxing. So I'm going to throw it back then. Fight Talk Live last week, we were all talking about the rumors that were going around. I think you, Danny, your page was the first page to put it out with who's fighting who. Everyone kind of picked up on what you did, ran with it, made their own little cute little flyers. But we know who started this rubbish. It was you, Danny. It was Fight Talk Live that suggested that Joel Joyce was going to fight Dillian White, that Lawrence Okoli is going to fight Richard Riakporhe, that David Adelaide is going to fight Jamie Takivi. Then I get an email saying, yep, can you come to this press conference? Major press conference in Manchester, about these fights. And literally that's what it was. As I was driving up there, as I was parked up when I was driving up there, I saw the advertisements for the fights. I saw the face-offs. I was at the service station as you stop off. And then we get up there and it's all systems go. The launch with Queensbury going to DAZN on April the 1st, and then the first fight being on the Saturday, called Heavy Impact. An interesting card, an interesting start to DAZN as well. I like the fact that Frank Warren, being the home of the heavyweights, is bringing out a bit of vintage and mixing in that with some of the new. And when I talk about the new, I'm talking about Jamie Takivi, David Adelaide, the newer heavyweights. Then obviously the fresh heavyweights. Well, Richard's really fresh, but Lawrence Okoli, fresh heavyweight to the scene. And then we've got some vintage with Dillian White versus Joel Joyce. I know, Base, you do your picks, so I'm going to ask you to skim over it and then move over to Danny, and then I'll give you my 50 pence worth as well. But overall, I'm happy to see that card.
Yeah. In terms of all the British cards that have been announced, I guess, for the first half of the year, it probably is the one that's most appealing and pleasing to the casual fans or the general fans. It may not have the best technical matchups, or maybe the most high-level intrigue or, ring IQ displayed, etc. But what we are perceiving is that there's going to be a lot of knockouts on that card. There will be a lot of violence. There's some rivalries and some bad blood in there, which is always good for the narrative. And even if the fights aren't the greatest, there'll always kind of be an intrigue because everyone on that card is always just one punch away from being on the floor. And I think that's the intrigue that kind of will keep the casuals engaged and involved. So yeah, overall, I'm quite happy with that card. And obviously Frank Warren, spoiled at this point. Home of the heavyweights is Queensbury, and it looks like unless some people start looking a bit further afield, it probably is going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. Frank's got the up and comers, he's got the current contenders, he's also got the also-rans and the past gatekeepers. Plus he's got one of the two world champions at this point. So yeah, it's a casual's dream, a hardcore something other dream, which I won't say on here, not to get us demonetized. And yeah, look, it's just a fun night. And the only thing about the night itself that holds any criticism is the fact it's in Manchester. And as much as I love Manchester, you got 6 brothers from London, and they're all fighting in Manchester. That just doesn't make much sense to have people traveling up there for that card. But we'll see if they've got enough pull power to sell out the stadium or at least get it half full
Trappers.
for themselves. So we'll wait and see. If there's anything that I have to criticize, it's that the location doesn't make much sense. But otherwise, great card.
Danny.
Yeah, for me,
Oh,
I like the way they've done it. If you go from the top to the bottom, it's like past, present, future.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So that was good. David Adelaide was surprisingly a lot more respectful to TKV than he has been to these last couple of opponents. But it seemed they shared a lot of rounds in sparring. Also, TKV being from Tottenham, he has that a bit of street cred as well, which David, I imagine, respects as well. So he wasn't really pushing up on him. Obviously, we know that the Coley Richard fight, we know that that's been building for quite some time now.
Yes.
And it was very interesting, some of the interviews that came out afterwards. Make sure, guys, you check out Lawrence Okoly's interview and Richard Riakpor's with October Red. They gave some interesting, backstory. I saw Henry Okoly speaking with Undefeated podcast. He had a lot of things to say there. Definitely will have to speak to him in the future soon. And then we've got, Dillian Whyte. I know we talk about, what Lawrence's lyrics, but Dillian Whyte was having a field day with Joe Joyce up there. He normally, Dillian Whyte's the one who sort of gets lines put on him and he gets frustrated and angry, but he was having a field day and a laugh, just making fun out of Joe, which it was funny, but then when you reflect on it, it's like, it's a bit sad, isn't it? He was just getting mugged, and he wasn't even, and he was even agreeing with a lot of the statements Dillian was saying about, losing your way home and outside your house, you're not even knowing you're there, and you're taking too many punches. But yeah, Frank Warren, great card. I know people were talking about, like, for instance, Bay, she said about taking all the London guys up to Manchester, but what it is that places like Manchester, Liverpool, because they're fight cities, they will welcome these guys with open arms. So I feel that this is why maybe Chisora likes going up there as well, because these guys get behind big fight nights like Manchester, obviously London. Because what it is, a lot of cities, they normally need a guy from their city they get behind. But say you're from London, you can't really get Londoners behind London because there's just too many of us, and we don't really support a certain fighter like that. You might just have a little pocket, a little like section, but say a fighter's from, I don't know, Huddersfield or Grimsby, the whole of Grimsby will be out. So I imagine, they'll have someone from Manchester on the undercard, and that will get them all behind. But Manchester, they know who everyone, all six of these fighters, Manchester people know. The Mancunians know who everyone is. Liverpool's just a short drive. Leeds is just a short drive. And I've even had people messaging me, proper armchair casual civilians messaging me saying, what are you saying? Is it, do you want to come on a road trip to Manchester for this fight? And they're looking to buy tickets and make it a road trip. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be struggling to be selling tickets up there. And obviously you've got the Newcastle, the Tyne and Wear people, they'll come down for a fight night as well. So yeah, I think it will do just fine up in Manchester, to be fair.
Yeah, you know what? Because obviously it's Manchester, it's like up the road from me, not too far for whatever. Because I'm usually always in London anyway. Good card. Yeah, got reflecting on obviously Dillian Whyte and Joe Joyce going at it. Joe Joyce has got a sense of humor. He was laughing with Dillian. It seems like it's quite jovial between the two of them. I've seen Marvel, Joe Joyce's mom, she posted with it as well, said it's good to see, the banter up there. I get it. A lot of people have said they don't think Joe Joyce, should still be fighting, but he's still dangerous. It's still a dangerous fight for Dillian because I think it's going to be whoever lands properly, like clean. Someone's going down on the floor. So it's still a dangerous fight for both of them. And yeah, it's the heavyweights. The punishment is there. I'm not the judge and jury of who should be fighting. Everyone's got their opinion. But the fact is, they're quite strict with like brain scans, etc. over here with the Boxing Board of Control. And I'm presuming that they've both, or they will, if they haven't had the brain scans yet, pass the brain scans, because we're quite strict here. And hopefully, it should be all right. Boxing is a dangerous sport, and I make no bones about that. But I am looking forward to the fight. It is a casual's dream. And like Danny says again, it's the past, potentially the past, the present and the future. The Lawrence Okolie versus Richard Riakporhe is a fight that's been going on for several years. I've been having a scour around the internet on various conversations that they've had about each other, quite a few of them from the work that I've done with both of them. It's an interesting fight. I think the build up around it, there's so much that they can really capitalize on to build that fight to make it what it is. The internet's a gold mine for the beef between them two, including the clip that I asked you to send me the other day when it went off at the Assassin's Creed preview on the red carpet, when obviously Lawrence said he was talking about Madonna being old, and that's what flipped Richard's switch. And you did see that again. You saw the evil look that he gave over to Lawrence when Lawrence said that. Like, if he could have strangled him there, I was there and I saw it. It's like, yeah, Richard wants to hurt him. He's moved trainers. He's gone to Billy Nelson. We'll see what happens there. I believe that Lawrence is still in the Gallagher's gym. I'm not sure, obviously, who's training him per se at the moment, but I do believe that he's still in that gym. And, shout out to Joe Gallagher, because the improvements that we've seen with Lawrence are really, under the tutelage of Joe has been, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed seeing the style change, or, Lawrence Okolie improve. And a couple of people have said to me, that's how he used to spar. When you see him in sparring, he boxes. It's like almost on the night, it turns into something, maybe not pleasing on the eye, but yeah, he can box. So we'll see how that goes, with the fighters. Richard jumping straight up to heavyweight and taking this fight. It's a risk. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm comfortable with it. It's a risk. We'll see how it goes. I'm not doing any predictions because I'll probably get it wrong anyway. But yeah, good fight. David Adeleye versus Jamie Takivi. I like the fight. I never saw that coming. Even when you announced that, Danny, I was like, huh? That was the one that really blew my mind. I heard the rumors about the others, but this one was out of the blue. And I thought, those pair have got completely different styles. Horrible matchup, but I do predict a really good fight. Jamie Takivi's last fight. The thing is with Jamie, I think he's not pleasing on the, like, if you're the casual and you want that clean look and you want to see what he's doing and, he gets a clean knockout, you won't get that from Jamie. But what he'll do is he'll systematically break his opponents down, and he's got a very underrated jab, and he's quite quick. He's got nice feints as well. We saw what he did to Michael Webster, forced him to retire, and it was just it's just too much. I spoke to another heavyweight that says basically Jamie doesn't look particularly pleasing on the eye, but he's horrible when you're in the ring with him. It's horrible because of the pressure that he puts you under. Now we've got this, new David Adeleye that's explosive, power punches, under Adam Booth, David Haye-esque, with the style that I can see potentially developing with him. A tough fight. I know everyone's writing off Jamie Takivi. I'm not going to do that. I think it would be a good fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I can't wait to see the other announcements on the card. Please feel free to put what your predictions you think, how the fights are going to end in the chat. But yeah, exciting times for the heavyweights. And Frank Warren, I called it the other day. He's like a Hoover. He's like the Dyson. He's just going around and just collecting the fighters. I spoke to Ade, and Ade was saying, if he knows Frank Smith and Eddie, they're going to be like, right, we've got to get one up on them, because that's what we want to see. I understand that everyone's working together, but I would still like to see that competition of them trying to outdo each other, which hopefully we will see moving forward. I think what was after that, I think the press started for obviously the fight week with Catterall, etc. And then I think Frank did right. There was two presses, wasn't there? There was Kakachi Wood with Queensbury again, which I think is in May, and then obviously Boxer with the rematch with Liam Cameron and obviously Ben Whittaker. Controversial ending to the fight. I think we'll start there, and then Danny, I'm going to throw it to you, then back to base, then back to myself. Unless there's anybody wants to say anything about what I've just said.
No, but what I will say is that I definitely am not writing Jamie TKV off. If anything, I'm going. Well, I'm going to put in an early prediction. I'm actually going with Jamie TKV because, as you said, you just spoke to someone about the sparring. But remember what I think I said it to you guys, that I said when he's in there, he drags you into the pigsty mud, and that's where people don't like it. And when you're an explosive fighter, what you need is room to get those shots off. And when you can't get them off and he's smothering you and wearing you down, because he's a big guy as well. So when he's in there, he's draining you, and then you can't get out of the mud. And then it's like, oh, I hate it in here. Do I really want it? I don't really fancy this no more, because that's what happened to Michael Webster. That's what happened to Frank Ignatius.
Yeah.
So this is the type of stuff he does. It doesn't look very TV friendly, but when you're in there, it's a horrible feeling, and you're looking at the clock, you're thinking.
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. Michael Webster was doing. He said he was wearing him, and he said he could see. He was just like frustrated. It was like he just was tiring him. He was just like, just get off me.
Yeah. So that's I know that feeling. I know the feeling. So yeah.
Oh, so you've done it though. So yeah.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's not nice. You're thinking that the timekeeper's just trying to get you punch up like that this is over 3 minutes, man. So yeah, but let's move on to the boxer press conference, because I saw they put out sent out the invites. They wanted everybody there. I tried to get someone to stand in, but no one was available, so I might need to put out a little advertisement for anyone who fancies doing some potential side media work from when I'm not available, because it's hard to get the staff nowadays, mate. But with that press conference, I know people was moaning about Ben Whittaker eating his pasta and drinking his water, but we could see what he's trying to. I don't know why it was like, it's disrespectful, but it just when George Groves was playing Rubik's Cube. When it was the Carl Froch press conference, everyone thought, "Oh, it's brilliant! Oh, it's mind games," But I guess because Ben Whittaker's one of those characters which is going to rub you up the wrong way anyway, so people just looking for an excuse to just get annoyed with what he was doing anyway. We know that he was trying to come across as nonchalant, and this is just another day in the office. But what I will say, Ben. He needs to. I'm not saying he has to disclose exactly what injury, because he might feel that it might be an injury where someone might be able to target it in a fight where he might not want that disclosed for that reason. But I don't know what he can do, because people are always going to say, "What was the injury?" Because it changed, and then obviously the airport thing where he smashed the guy's phone and all that. It just doesn't look good, I imagine, but. I see that he was trying to get under Liam Cameron's skin when they did that kind of side face-to-face thing where he said, "I heard about you spying Callum Simpson," and you jumped out. They wanted 8
5. Yeah.
Something like that. And he was like, "I swear on my life."
That rattled him. That did.
I know, that was hilarious. He goes, "I was up there with him." So I know. That was actually funny. But yeah, I just found that press conference funny. Liam Cameron, he had a good sense of humor up there. In general, he was having a laugh. He said that he's got his new life, his new hairline. He showed his new hairline, and yeah, he had some bars on Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker was throwing some lines back. It wasn't really necessarily popping, because I didn't hear the crowd really laughing at Ben's jokes. So he might have to work on his material to make it a bit more funny. But yeah, it's an intriguing fight. The pressure is on Ben, because he's the guy who's touted for big things, and he's the guy who goes viral. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight, and the card. There's another one for you guys in Birmingham. Tyler Denny's on the bill back, so that's good to see. Versus Agora, Fraser Clark's back. I was in another chat, me and Base, where people talking about, "Oh, Fraser shouldn't be allowed to box again." I was like, why not? Yeah. Some people just like to run with narratives they probably see on places like Talksport, and you just run with their kind of things. But yeah, good to see Frazier back, and it seems like you
Yeah.
guys are gonna have another good fight in the Midlands. So yeah,
Base, talk to us, man.
you right there, October.
It looked like you're gonna cook up something on this now. Come on,
No,
Base.
not even. Look, obviously it was the only fight really for Ben Whittaker to take. It's I know a lot of people were comparing it to the sort of the Carl Thompson thing with David Hay, but I guess the big difference in that one is there was a conclusion to that fight, and you kind of you
Base.
take it as you you take it in your stride. All right, it wasn't the case that he was better than me. I ran out of gas. All right, I don't really need to revisit this. Maybe he should have just for the optics, but he went a different way, and it was what it was. Whereas this one, this is all that people were going to be commenting. And as much as like Ben said, oh, well, look, they was talking about me for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it went quiet. As soon as he came back into the public's conscience, the first thing they said was, oh, well, Liam Cameron said they came back. So while I never think that he didn't want to take the fight coming back, it was one of those fights where if he didn't, it was always going to be a problem. And, even his own team within Boxer and Sky Sports would have probably said, so after his next fight, so what's next, Ben? I mean, look, there's a certain Liam Cameron that's still, popping around. Is that sort of a fight you're interested in the future? And it's going to constantly keep coming up. So rather than have that, you get it out the way now. Win, lose or draw, you go back in there, handle the business. If you lose, all right, cool. That's just now you go another route and it's conclusive. If you win, you close that chapter out. And if it's a draw, then maybe you do the same as if you won. Either way, you close out the chapter. All right, cool. I went back in, rematched him. He was lucky he got the draw. That's your lot. You don't get another payday off me. You keep it moving. Cameron's stock rises again off of Ben Whittaker's name, and both guys go their separate ways and they make their career, and maybe they meet up again that somewhere further down the line. In terms of the card, I think the card on paper, I have to say on paper, looks pretty good. The Frazier Clark fight surprised me, in the sense that Ben Shalom was saying, look, he's not really going to be he's not going to be sort of in there with the the biggest of names after what happened, but just the fact that he's back out is a plus. I've obviously got to hold my hands up. I said I don't think he's ever going to box again.
Did you?
So, yeah, I said that on this platform. One of our previous after the break and all that, it's like, well, to me, his level, if he believed that his level was going to be anything above British, he's kind of found out that that's not the case. And so if, as someone who aspires to be more than a journeyman or a gatekeeper or just a domestic fighter, which is what I believed he did aspire to, there's no point carrying on, especially with that injury, with the chance of it happening again. And he said that he suffered that exact same injury before in the amateurs. So getting your mandible, your jaw broken twice, is that really so? Why do you want to tempt fate for the third time when you probably don't need to at this point? I'm pretty sure he's savvy with his money and whatnot, and he'll definitely always get punditry work and all of that. But he's back, so I was wrong. Shout out to him. Tete, initially you think, okay, well, that's not a great fight coming back. But that being said, Dillian White had a mad stakeout with him. He just legitimized Tete's name the same way Tyson Fury legitimized Francis Ngannou's and Otto Wallin's and pretty much anyone else that wasn't named Deontay Wilder. So yeah, you get a little bit of highlight off of that, and now you compare that to what Dillian White did. So no doubt, if Dillian White loses, I would say to Joe Joyce, you can see the next fight will be White versus Clark. That's just a trajectory that's gonna happen. So yeah, that you got that building block and that comparison there. But if Tete can, if he can last in there, hang in there, sort of 5-6 rounds, it'll be interesting to see how that fight plays out. But at this point, we don't know. Tyler Denny obviously on the card. Shout out to Tyler against Elvis Ahoga. There was another fight on that card. With what was the other fight on there?
Cutler and Eggington.
Oh yeah, that's the other one. Lee Cutler, Sam Eggington. Yeah, it looks like a pretty decent card. So I might have to figure out a couple of annual leave days at work. I might have to move some over from somewhere because I should be coming back from holiday the day before that fight card takes place.
Interesting.
Or 2 days before. So yeah, I'll see. Oh yeah, actually no, I don't need to take no annual leave because that's Easter Sunday.
The weekend. Yeah.
No, it's Easter
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday, isn't it? Yeah.
I've already got the Friday and the Monday off work anyway.
Nice.
So yeah, I probably will be up there for that card from the Thursday onwards when I touch back down into the country. So yeah, decent boxer, look like they're on the right track. But we say that, bear in mind they've had a lot of cards which have looked good on paper and then failed to deliver. So I have to temper my expectations, same as I did for this weekend's card just gone, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But yeah, I'm happy that Ben's back. I feel like he's kind of been feels like he's been missed a little bit since October. But yeah, let's see kind of what happens and look forward to it.
Yeah, you put some you definitely put some food for thought in that. Yeah, good to see Ben back. I hope Liam's not overlooking Ben. I don't think Ben was actually boxing like he usually does in that fight for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not going to make any excuses. I haven't spoke to him really before and after, so I don't know what's going on with him. I've heard that potentially he's changed coach. There's some rumors circulating around about Andy Lee, but who knows? Nothing is confirmed. But I think if Ben is Ben, and I've tried to say this to Liam, I said, do you think that if Ben was boxing how he boxes, that you would have been able to keep up with that? And he was going, no, it was his style, Liam's style, that forced Ben into that type of fight, because he reckons if he tries to box and move for the full distance, he'll tire. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the fight goes. I think if Ben does what Ben does, he should be okay. And then we'll see this time, because I believe that this time he's going to go in there full throttle. We'll see if Liam really can dismantle the style that Ben Whittaker's got. Or the best.
One thing can we pick up on that when he said, look, yeah, rough him up, like a few more punches to the back of the head. No one picked up on that in the press conference. Like, he's literally said he's going to commit fouls. He's going to commit like dirty.
What Liam said that?
That's what Liam Cameron said. Yeah,
okay.
A few more, rough him up, damage him. Hits to the back of the head. He didn't like that last time. Well, of course he's not going to like that. Wow. It's illegal. That's what he said in the press conference, and no one picked up on it to say, "Well, are you sure that that's the right way to go?" But yeah, I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
No, I didn't even know that. But to be fair, I was up in.
I think that people did pick.
What you say?
I think people did pick up on it, but I think there is a section of the media and journalists who want Ben to get beaten up so bad, or just wanted to lose so bad, that they're happy, whether by hook or by crook, they want the Liam Cameron to get through it, because he more resonates with British culture. Got in trouble for doing a bit of marching powder. He's been down, and we're rising back up, and he's had such a tough few years when he suffered the ban and stuff. So they want that comeback story so bad, rather than someone they don't really relate to a Ben Whittaker as they would a Liam Cameron. So people heard it, but they don't mind that, as long as he gets the W. That's all they want for Liam Cameron, because they don't like Ben so much, and they feel they resonate more, maybe due to some nepotism also, with Liam Cameron. That's my conjecture.
Yeah, I see that, because I know what the fans are like. The British fans, we're fickle, aren't we? I've said it like thousands of times. I think Ben, he got a lot of stick because of stuff that he allegedly said. I don't know. They're saying that he was saying stuff about Liam's clothes and all stuff like that. But I think, Ben's locked himself away from what I can see, kept himself away from social media, and he's doing what he needs to do in the dark. He's mentioned that he's been baptized again, which kind of like makes me believe that he's gone on a bit of soul searching. So I think what happened to him has obviously had an effect. Whether he wants to admit it or not, that's down to him and his male ego. But I think that he's obviously reflected, and we could potentially see a different kind of beast this time. I'm looking forward to the fight. We'll see how it goes. I'm glad they've got it on. I don't think there was any other fight, like I said to Johnny Nelson, because he was the one that was talking about Carl Thompson. And I was like, yeah, but that was concluded. There was a result. With this one, no, we didn't know what was going to happen. So we need to see how this ends. It was a cliffhanger. It was cut short. However you want to see it, it was cut short. So let's get the book back open, finish the chapter. Like Bay said, win, lose or draw, whatever, we move on. And that's the end of that. Shout out to Fraser, obviously, comeback fight. I thought it might have been a name that we potentially didn't know at all, but obviously Dillian Whyte has given Tete some props, so his name's back out there. It's a good fight. It's maybe a benchmark fight to see where he is, because like Base has put another something out into the ethos that he could potentially fight Dillian Whyte should he come through that fight, and that is something that went clearly straight over my head. So shout out to Base for that one. Tyler Denny, I was hoping that he was going to fight. He was going to go back into a title fight, suggested potentially Kieran Conway. I was expecting a fight like that for him. I know that Nova Sports, Chris Eubank Jr.'s team has been trying to get him to fight Troy Williamson. We can see the stuff that's been put up on social media and that going at it and whatever. And now Tyler's fighting Ahorga. Is that the correct way to pronounce it? Elvis, who brings a lot of fun and games to boxing. But I would have thought that Tyler might have gone for potentially a title-wise fight. But at the end of the day, he's fighting. He's coming back. He's keeping active. Hopefully, I'll catch up with Tyler and then I can ask him all these weird and wonderful questions like who I thought he should have been fighting. Why is he fighting this and why is he not fighting that? But at the end of the day, he's back out there. He's active, and shout out the BCB guys in Warsaw. Lee Cutler versus Sam Eggington, total carnage and war. That's going to be a slugfest because both of them can row. And it's going to be the battle of the rowers. They both got heart. They're both going to stay in there. It's going to be there's going to be blood splattered everywhere with that fight. Looking forward to it. It's a good card for Boxer as well. And yeah, of course, I'm happy. It's local. I can literally roll out of bed and get there instead of driving 120, 130 miles or spending hundreds on hotel rooms. So I'm not complaining about that at all. But yeah, good card. Shout out to Boxer. There's a couple of things that I don't know if they're being broadcast in America, because when I think I did a watch along or something with one of their fights the other day or something. I can't remember. I was on a live. People were saying that they can't watch it. It's not on Peacock. Where is it? And I was like, I don't know. So I don't know what's going on with their broadcasting issues. If they're still with Peacock, who knows?
I heard they was on Triller the other day.
Triller?
Yeah, I heard that.
Triller?
I heard that the was on Triller. Yeah, it never left. It's always been there.
I didn't even know that.
Okay, because I saw that something that boxers deal with NBC, whatever that.
NBC, yeah.
NBC has finished now. So
is that Peacock as well? Yeah,
I've heard,
their Peacocks are part of NBC.
Okay. So that was a short contract then, because I thought they only had it a year ago. But whatever, we digress. We could go over that, but yeah, hopefully they'll be broadcasting. I don't know, wherever soon. Matchroom. Then we've got to go to Matchroom with Catterall versus.
So James Hunt says it was on. It was showing on Fight TV.
Was it?
I think Fight is a part of Triller anyway. But Karma Serene in the building. Shout out Karma. She says, "Yeah, I had to subscribe and cancel my subscription right after that card."
Joking.
So yeah.
Oh, super chats come in. Pterodactyl. I love Pterodactyl's profile picture. Good evening to you, and thank you very much for the donation. Tony's jumped in the chat as well. Good evening to Tony. Good evening to Bon Scott. Talksport clamoring for Chisora to fight again, but not Clark. All fighters are at risk. But who is more at risk? Spencer Oliver should know better, considering what happened to him. you know, with the Scots, they're always going to tell it how it is. The further north you go, you're just going to get real and
Mhm.
real and real. Shout out to Bon Scott.
Big up.
Yeah, shout out to Bon Scott in the chat. Fraser
Yeah,
and
big up.
Adelaide is a decent matchup. Yeah, 100%. I'd definitely like to see that down the line. And Emma, shout out to Emma, is saying that Tete is Clark's level. No, we're going to go on to that now, Jay. 7, we're going to go on to that now. I enjoyed the face-off. They had a face-off the week before, a live face-off, which I thought was brilliant. They sat them there, you know, no editing. It was what it was. And then obviously we move on to fight week. Spoke to Barboza, and one of the things I said to him, I said, you do know that Jack Catterall's like nickname is El Gato, and he sort of like scoffed and went, I'm the Mexican. So you could see he was almost like, how dare he take that as a name when I'm the true Mexican. So I thought, oh, spicy. But yeah, I'll start with that fight. I enjoyed it. I just see Jack is very composed, counterpuncher, relaxed. But I just think he started way too slow. And he just made it Barboza's fight. I know everyone was saying that it was a close fight, etc. I'll leave all that scoring stuff to Emma in the chat base, and obviously you, Danny. But I'd say Barboza, to me, was just more aggressive, more come forward, and really started to land at will later on in the fight as well, with his shots. So I think it was a deserved win. Would I like to see a rematch? I wouldn't say no to a rematch, but I think there's a rematch that a lot of people are calling for Barboza to have, with a controversial win that he had last time, which people seem to be going on about that. But that was a good fight. I enjoyed watching it. I wasn't bored. I just wish Jack had put his foot on the gas early, and I think he's going to be kicking himself today. And you saw the regret in his face when he knew at the end of the fight that clearly he wasn't going to get it. Base.
I mean, you're better than me. I thought the fight was shit, to be honest. I really didn't.
I like it's because you're live. It's different when you're live.
Yeah. The thing is, I've seen fights live that I thought were shit live that I actually liked better when I watched on TV, and vice versa. This one, the whole first half of the fight, it was like, okay, you're kind of getting into rhythm, fine. It was very messy, very kind of hard to score. It's like, okay, well, this person's maybe had one shot better than the other. Sometimes hard to tell if a shot landed.
Yeah.
Barboza was he looked very scrappy. He looked like he was trying to shoot from range because he had the longer range and was taller than Catterall. So it was almost like he was trying to throw from the outside just so that he couldn't be countered. And that clearly that was a tactic to start with. The fight picked up a little bit towards sort of the later rounds, very, maybe sort of round 8, 9, 10 a little bit. But overall, it was just a fight of two guys. I mean, I'll give Barboza credit for at least trying to step forward and, trying to engage at times. But they're both two pure boxers that don't really press the action, like to sort of box and move, attack off of the back foot, especially Catterall. Like, he's got no forward motion in him whatsoever. He only looks good against people that pressure him. And even then, the fact that he has people that pressure him and he doesn't work hard in rounds, unless he clearly lands like 2 or 3 highlight shots, he ends up getting outworked, which is probably one of the reasons why he ended up getting that controversial loss to Josh Taylor in the first fight, and almost threw away the second one, and had the stakeout with Jorge Linares. It was one of those fights, as you said, he kicking himself for not doing enough. But when we look back at a lot of his fights, he actually, he doesn't. He relies on the other person. This whole the cat alias that he has, El Gato, like, well, cats are also known to attack. Like, they don't just play off the defense. And I said in my video, which you guys will see later on, maybe he's got to try change his name to El Perro and become the dog, and he's got to start going forward, because that's the only way he's going to be winning these fights. What makes it worse is he's not, again, the whole boring advertisement and promo was amazing, but that's what people look at him and think. Boring fighter, never steps on the gas, wins with like he's always just within himself, just wins comfortably, doesn't press the action. While he's been in this last period of his career, when he had obviously the grace from the first Josh Taylor fight, there's been no knockouts, right? And it's fine. We know boxing isn't all about knockouts, but
however,
name me one of his fights outside of the Josh Taylor ones that you actually thought were entertaining, apart from maybe the Prograis one.
I like the Prograis fight.
Let's look at the Prograis one. The first 5 rounds of that fight was awful. It took for Prograis to knock him down and then get brave in there for the fight to pick up. Cattrall never once was on the and he was playing the back foot in the whole thing. It took for someone else to initiate the action to make the fight fun, and that's the problem with Jack Catterall. So I feel like him losing this fight is actually is awful for his career because he's like not this fun fighter. Yes, he might get another opportunity because he's up there in maybe the rankings, but when you look at it, okay, much more than anything, the chances are, I saw Everything Boxing on Twitter yesterday saying, the fight to make is Catterall against Dalton Smith. So Dalton Smith, who's still like the prospect, the contender, just coming up to maybe that number 1 ranked in the WBC, but that's now the fight to make, the guy that's up and coming. So not even the guy that we know is a full so not another world title fight. We're talking about you fighting the prospect guy. And that's almost going to be his situation unless he can actually, he's going to have to take one of those fights and he's going to have to put on a statement, hard knockout, and then that way do something like that to be able to get himself back to that level. Because we've seen, as much as they say, we'll bring you back, we don't just neglect, like you have more fights like that. There's no value in your fights. You're not a fun fighter to watch. You're not a main event fighter. So unfortunately, unless you're one, he's in that precarious position of almost like what people thought of Shakur a little while ago. If he's not winning, he's never he's of no value. His value, Shakur's value at the moment to a lot of people is his O. Once his O goes, it's going to be very hard for him to get fights unless in his next fight on this weekend he makes a big statement with a big highlight reel knockout. And there's a lot of guys who have that. Their value is in the fact that they are undefeated, because once that O goes, there's nothing else about them that people want to gravitate to. And unfortunately, I feel like that's Jack Catterall. Again, both guys, thing is, I prefer Catterall to Barbosa, but that's only because I feel like there's a lot more better matchups. I think Arnold Barbosa, quite honestly, is trash. I actually think I've only ever seen one fight of his that I thought he looked good in, and that was the Jose Pedraza fight. Outside of that, I think he's looked trash in all of his fights, but maybe in that trashness, I have to give him respect, because as bad as he looks, as much as I think this guy is shit, he seems to always get the victory. And that in itself is a skill. So I'm gonna rate him on that alone. Like, as much as I don't like it and I don't think you're that good, a bit similar with David Benavidez. Somehow you managed to get the victory. And because of that, I will give him the ratings. I edged it to Catterall, but I had no issue.
Yeah, okay.
I scored it 115, 113 to Catterall, but there were several rounds, to be honest. I was wavering in between the rounds. I either lost interest or I missed a piece. I missed maybe a couple seconds. I might have missed a shot here. And I was just looking. It just felt like maybe Catterall did something that I thought, okay, because he's at home, the crowd and everything, it might go his way. So I want to swing that around to him. There was a lot of swing rounds. But obviously they swung it the other way, feeling that maybe. And the one thing I did say when on my watch along is that Barbosa was, at least he was trying to come forward. He was doing aggressive. A lot more work. He was. Yeah. So whereas Catterall may have had a highlight reel shot here or there, like Barbosa was being more consistent. And maybe I didn't give him enough credit for some of the consistent work when I was then seeing the highlight reel stuff afterwards. But ultimately, both guys to me were poor. The fight was shit. I don't want to see it again. I'm not going to go back and rewatch it. Congratulations to Barbosa for being the WBO interim 140-pound champion. He's probably going to get elevated because Tio doesn't want to get in there with that. That's one thing. As bad as he is, he'll box circles around Teofimo Lopez. I know that for a fact. So yeah, he's probably going to become the new champion, and then it's just about who he's going to face afterwards. And that's where the intrigue lies there. In terms of Catterall, I don't know what the rebound plan is and the strategy is for him, but I just hope that in his next fight he shows up, shows out, and gets on the front foot a bit more, because this whole back foot fighting thing can only last you for so long.
For real. I agree there. Danny?
Yeah, it was what it is with Jack Catterall. He's too defensive. The first few rounds, I'm seeing him standing there trying to do the shoulder roll, and Barboza's just punching him on the arm, because the fact is at least he's staying active. At least he's trying to do something, whereas Catterall's just standing there not throwing. So if you're not throwing, you're not scoring. He was being too defensive. It was, especially when you've just done the advert, the pressure's a bit on to have some entertainment, and you're not really giving the crowd, like, every time you're throwing your straight left down the pipe, the crowd's like roaring because they want to get behind you, like they want to see you do something, and you're then just standing off and letting Oscar Duarte just throw punches and get active on you. So that was frustrating. And I agree with what Tony Bellew said, that he has everything, but he needs to be aggressive, because he does have punch power. When he does hit you, he does, it's respectable, even though he hasn't scored a stoppage in 6 years, since like 2019. The last time he did look exciting, apart from the Josh Taylor fight, I would say was the Dara Foley fight, where he looked good in that. But yeah, the last time he scored a knockout was against a guy who was 10-17. So you do have the power, but it's like he's too worried. I know the sport is hit and not get hit, but then come on, let's not go too far with it. You got to get in the rain a bit. You got to understand you are going to get tagged, and unfortunately, he started getting tagged too much while he's not throwing. So big up big up Arnold Barboza. I know, Base, you said that you think Barboza's rubbish, but as you said, you have to rate him in it, because maybe Barboza, he's going off the ethos of that American ethos, off of like Billy Hoyle. Remember what Billy Hoyle said? I want to win first, look good second. Some people want to look good first, win second. Arnold, he's getting the results. So big him up. He's not the type of fighter I'm gonna, rush home to see, or say, oh, guess what? Arnold Barboza's on tonight. Like, yeah, fair enough. But he's getting the W's. I scored it 7-5 to Catterall, but it was one of them fights which was 7-5 either way. And as I said, after After 4 rounds, I had it 3-1 to Catterall. Then Arnold Barboza took the next set of rounds, and then it was after round 8. I tweeted, I said, I've got this 4 rounds apiece, that Jack Catterall, he needs to step on the throttle now.
Yeah,
otherwise Barboza's going to nick this.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, that's what happened. Barboza, he nicked it. So, and yeah, Jack there's no one else to blame but himself. And because he's not fan friendly, he is going to get the fight still, because he is a brand name on the Zona for Matchroom. But he might end up going down as one of those fighters that are one of the best fighters to never win a world title, because now it's just put him further away. And it's a shame, because he should have got it that night, when he beat Josh Taylor, which was scored, the other way, whatever. But the last night was not good. And he does need to. I don't know if he needs to. I don't like to say change training team, but his training team need to adjust their tactics and his fighting style a bit, and make it more aggressive and fan friendly. Yeah, no, I think his team have the ability to do that. Jamie Moore. The thing is, Jamie Moore knows about aggression. Listen, I'm telling you, I used to watch this guy. When you're looking at Jamie Moore was, he was all action. Him versus Matthew Macklin. Oh, that's one of my favorite British fights of all time. So Jamie knows about aggression, so he can get it out of him. He needs to, tell him, listen, mate, all that playing fencing, it's not working, sunshine. We've got to get down. We've got to get a bit. You got to stop being El Nino and get what's the man one? I'm finally learning some Spanish now, Base, because I'm hitting Gibraltar this year, so I need to learn a bit. But he needs to turn from El Nino to the man. So also, where is Jack Catterall? Like, is origins? Because he doesn't look English. Like, is he got Spanish in him or Italian or what is it?
Don't know.
Does someone know?
Anyone in the chat know?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
strange one. I've always
I
wondered
think I think he's a bit like Cordina, ain't he? Like a little bit Maltese.
Who knows?
I think
Who knows?
he's like
All right.
Maltese
That makes
blood.
sense then.
So Bellotti Gomez Jr. then forcing got
Okay.
him into retirement. I like that fight. I think they might have been able to stop it just a little bit more because I saw the punishment that Junior was starting to take. And I know that obviously, I don't know, did he have something up with his kidneys while he was sick with the first fight? Anyway, and Bellotti was just absolutely pummeling his body to pieces, and you could hear it in the arena, as well as obviously just see those attacks just continuously coming in. But yeah, good, fair to stop it. Shout out to the corner. Could you have done it a little bit earlier? Yes. Live to fight another day and all that. But yeah, that was some severe punishment in there. Cages to start off with as well. Probably didn't start as quick as I thought it would. But yeah, it caught fire. And then obviously we got the stoppage. I don't know if you guys want to touch on anything like that about that fight.
It's another fight I was disappointed in. I thought that fight was shit too.
Oh my God, Base.
I can't lie. I don't know if it's because I wasn't supposed to be in, and I was maybe watching.
You're a tough crowd, Base.
I might have been watching from a perspective of just being like frustrated. The fact I wasn't supposed to be in my house. I was supposed to be somewhere else, but I thought the fight would be better.
No, that was a good
let him down.
I don't think it was. I think the first half of the fight. I think the second half of the fight was fine, but the issue I had was Bellotti was doing the right things by going to the body. Clearly, the body work was working, but he was being very crude with the way that he was getting to the body. Like it just felt like, all right, you're doing the exact same motions and repetitions. You can see that this guy is now tucking in the arms to the body. Find something else to find another way to get there. Move around the angles. I expect more from Bellotti, probably because I remember when I see him live, it was in the Liam Dillon fight. And I've seen him in those type of action-packed fights from start to finish. Whereas this fight, there was a lot of moving, a lot of trying to. It was angles for no reason because the angles weren't working. They weren't really doing much. It took too long to get going, and by the time it started to get going, it just felt like, again, as Emma said in the chat, it wasn't competitive. It was just this one-sided beat down, but it was a guy that wasn't even being smart with the work he was in. It was just literally firing shots, hoping that they're going to get through rather than actually using the skills that I know he has to make those shots tell. He should have got Gomez out of there several rounds earlier than he did. And
maybe he just couldn't turn up.
Laborious to watch. I didn't like it.
So what? I don't know, Danny.
I disagree with that. I thought it was a good fight, and you know what? I know that the paying public every time we want blood and guts because you was at the Liam Dillon fight just like me. But sometimes you see with fighters, some days you think, do you know what? I'm going to preserve myself for a bigger fight. Not every day I'm going to take crash bang wallet back. So I'm going to hit some movement. You're saying he was doing repetitive things, but it clearly worked because he dropped him twice with body shots. And stuff. So he's realizing I'm breaking this guy down with a body. If it's not broke, why fix it? Why make me now go to the head where I might get tagged or something, or it might. When he did catch him to the head, Gomez Jr. wasn't really budging from the headshots. It was the body shots that was breaking him up. So he just done that. And do you know what? He started using the angles because he thought, do you know what? I can use angles this fight. I don't have to get stuck in and take 100 punches this time and get my head and have two black eyes like I saw him in the Novotel after the Dillian fight. And it may have been the story of the night because earlier in the night, I didn't know that Jazza Dickens had angles and movement on him. And he was using angles and he had moves like Jagger and making the Jamaican guy in Zelfa Barrett look stiff in the hips. And
I do not know what the hell was going on in that fight.
Because Jazza Dickens is a man who normally, he's in there but he decided I'm going to use boxing and use some angles and movement.
Bro,
move some. So he came with a new and improved style. So that's maybe what Reese Bellotti decided to do and reserve himself for another war in another fight rather than with Michael Gomez Jr. So I actually applaud that what he did. He dropped him twice, stopped him. More do you want? Not every time-based Valentine's Day massacre.
You know what? Base is upset because, look, I get it. You know, when you're looking forward to something, it doesn't happen. You're just pissed off for the whole night.
No, my issue with the fight is the fact that when he's throwing these body shots, like he's being very crude with throwing the body shots. The fact that he dropped him, he could have dropped him earlier in that fight several times. He's literally... He's going up here and then going down to the body. He did the exact same combination over and over. Michael even saw it and started tucking in the arm so that the shots weren't getting through, and he made no adjustments. So he eventually got the stoppage, but he could have done it a lot sooner. It just looked very crude and rudimentary, and it wasn't of the standard I'm used to seeing from Bellotti. And it's not about, I wanted him to get stuck in and get two black eyes. Just be smarter with the way that the shots are landed. They weren't. It's funny. The probably the most entertaining fight for me on the card was maybe Dickens and Barrett, and even that fight I didn't enjoy that much. I didn't actually enjoy the entire card. I thought the entire card was very poor. If you want me to be honest, I thought
you know what, Base, you're not allowed to broadcast unless you've had some dessert.
Before I never had no dessert.
Because Zalfa Barrett,
strawberry cheesecake was out of the menu.
Oh, tasty!
No, don't do strawberry. That's not where we go. Nothing but caramel or chocolate.
You know what? I'm just
okay.
Okay. Is that your flavor?
Caramel or chocolate?
Interesting.
So I thought we were doing fruits of labor tonight.
I like strawberries. You know, it's the texture. But anyway, what was I saying?
Like
so, Zalfa Barrett and Jazza Dickens. Base, I'm going to go back to you, even though you've just like sort of give a quick summary on it. But yeah, that fight, that was a surprise for me, but whatever.
No, shout out to Jazza Dickens. I didn't expect the outcome. And you know, there was times he was in there styling on Zalfa. But I watched the fight, but I wasn't like engrossed in it. I was kind of shooting in and out, but Zalfa looked lackluster. He looked I don't know if it was necessarily he was dead at the weight, he was uninspired, but he didn't look good. He looked stiff, robotic, he looked slow, lackluster. Jazza Dickens looked better. Obviously he looked like a little like a little muscle bound pocket rocket. He looked a little bit like what's his name, Nick Ball, just a barrel of muscle, just yeah. But in his third weight class, but he had movement. It was cool. It was all right. But again, it was another fight that it didn't really do anything for me. Like it literally was just it was just there. It was just the opening of the show, and it was just one of them ones. Like I didn't hate it, but I didn't necessarily enjoy it. It was just there. And the only good thing is that it was a quote unquote upset victory. So it goes to show furthermore that under the Matchroom cards, you just can't. Nothing's a foregone conclusion.
True.
Maybe the most foregone conclusion fight would have probably been the Pat McCormack one with
beautiful
with Robbie Davis Jr. But yeah, like I said, in terms of the entire card, I didn't enjoy it. I thought the entire card was shit. And that's not something I usually say about Matchroom cards. I just did not think the card was that great.
I really enjoyed it, but maybe it's because I was there, and I don't know. Base. Sorry, Danny.
Yeah, as I said, what's it? Jazza Dickens. He was style and profiling on my man. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I didn't know he had this in him,
bro.
The Pat McCormack fight. I knew he was going to do that to Robbie Davis. Like it was like, and great work by Anthony Crolla. He had a good talk with him, made the ref go away for a minute, made him realize, you know what, and he kind of Robbie Davis, he would have carried on, but he thought, you know what, my coach has been there, done it. He knows there's no point. I'm just taking a beating for the sake of taking a beating, and he got out of there. But yeah, the fights in overall, it wasn't the best show, but hey, it showed some different styles. Fighters were coming out with different styles So it was something a bit new to see. So that was a bit surprising. Although I will say as well, I forgot to say that Oscar De La Hoya, we know Clapback Thursday. Oh, he's going to have a field day now because he just got one up with that Arnold Barboza over Jack Catterall. So that's a win for him. Hopefully, Eddie can get one back next week. Anyhow, Floyd Schofield gets one over Shakur, which I don't see, but anything can happen. Anyhow, it happens.
Don't forget Madrim.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and then obviously Jao Pataya and Zerdo later on in the year.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, but what's it, guys? I've got to go because I'm heading up to Liverpool tomorrow to go see my son because it's his birthday next week. So yeah, the wife's getting annoyed. So I've
but no, we can't have wifey's annoyed. We've already had Base lose out on Nyash, so we're not upsetting anybody else. We'll cut it. We'll cut it there. Yeah, we'll cut it there. Listen, guys.
You guys can carry on if you want. But I've got to go.
To be fair, I was only going to cover. You can dip off then, and I was just going to obviously echo what you guys said about obviously Zalfa Barrett.
Right, guys.
Don't know what he's going to do next, but that was very lackluster. I agree with you, Base. Very disappointing, but I thought he was dead at the weight because he did look really drained when I saw him, I think, at the press conference. So we'll see what happens with him. Pat McCormack, beautiful boxing. They mentioned Conor Walker for him potentially as a fight next. Interesting. Obviously, Pat McCormack is just like really, I think he's probably going to be elite when you look at levels of boxing of those guys that are coming through the ranks. And I wanted to shout out to Conor Tudsbury as well, getting his debut and getting his round 2, I think it was, TKO on his first fight. But other than that, I thought the card was okay. I get it, whatever, but I like watching fights live. Maybe if I was at home, I might have had a different opinion, but I enjoyed it. Is there anything else from yourself, Base? Or we all right?
A couple of things. Didn't speak about Abdullah Mason earlier. I saw part of his fight. He looked back to his old self. Very impressive. Still one of the hot prospects to watch out for. Another knockout victory, but it looked like he went back more to boxing than just trying to look for the highlight reel knockout. So I'd actually like to see him versus Keyshawn in about 3-4 years at like 140 when they're both up there. It's a bit too early for him to fight Keyshawn now, but yeah, maybe 2 to 3 years, depending on how long he decides to stay at 135. I think that would be a great fight. And then also, I guess, just touching on the inconclusive Clarissa Shields situation with the failed drugs test, which may or may not have been PED related, possibly for marijuana, but trace amounts. So it'd just be interesting to find out whether the last fight is whether or not it will be turned into a no contest or not. And if that's the case, then she technically will no longer be undisputed heavyweight champion, because those vacant belts will go back up in the air, I would assume. Speaking of Clarissa, I guess I'll give her a little bit of a shout out because I did actually go to see her film on Wednesday, the Fire Inside film, which was actually pretty good. I found it funny, the girl that they cast to be Savannah Marshall. I thought that was quite funny. But it's weird because for anyone who's seen the film or planning to watch the film, when you hear Clarissa Shields talk about the Savannah Marshall's loss and that, oh, I know I beat her and rare, and you see the actual footage in the, from the actual the proper amateur fight that they had. When you look at the film, no, the film quite clearly shows that Savannah Marshall beat her up. So it's very strange on who decided to choose like how that narrative would go, because she's like, okay, I've got to keep watching this fight. I need to study, like, this is the only person that can beat me. I've got to it shows her basically like meticulously and almost what's the word? What's that word when you just can't get someone out out of your head, like just
Rent free.
no, almost. I'll say almost stalkerishly. That's probably not the right word, but that's all that's in my head.
Okay.
That the way that
Obsessed.
she's constantly put obsessed. Yeah, obsessively. That's it. She's
Mm,
constantly watching this fight. Where did she go and wait so that she can
yeah.
have the rematch? And that's basically the bit of the narrative they put in the film. So it's funny that she says that she was clearly like that she felt that she won the fight, but in the film, which I'm pretty sure she had a lot of creative control in,
Input. Yeah.
they had it definitely like, no, she was just making mistakes and getting caught and getting beat. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I thought the film was pretty good. So if anyone hasn't seen it, go watch it. I'll give I'll give her a bit of a plug for that. It was a pretty interesting film to watch. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much else. Again, the only fight card that I saw this weekend that I really thought was good, and I didn't even see all of it, was the Golden Boy Promotions card. Duarte and Medueno was a good, very good fight, and that card just seemed like the most fun card of the weekend. The Top Rank card was all right, but they need to work out and sort out their timings. I think probably that's going to be the best thing about them leaving ESPN. Not going to be having main events starting at almost midnight over on the East Coast and 5 o'clock over here. That will probably be a plus. The broadcast started at I think 1 o'clock on Sky Sports, and the first fight of the broadcast didn't start until just after 2 or just before 2 o'clock because all of the prelim stuff apparently ran early and they had to wait for their slot for ESPN or whatever. Yeah, so that was highly annoying. But outside of that, it was okay. It just wasn't the greatest weekend of boxing, I'll say. Maybe that's because it was Valentine's Day weekend to a lot of people. They thought you can't get the best fights on. People ain't going to be home to watch it. Who knows?
Who knows? But hopefully you get to catch up with yours. Listen, guys, it's been a lovely evening. Thank you for tuning in, etc., etc. You know what to do. The usual admin stuff. Like I said, we're building back up Fight Talk Live. It is in Base's description. It will be in mine later on. But thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the chat, as per usual. Brilliant. The interaction. Can't go wrong with it. And I think we'll be back here after the card. They're calling it the card of the century. Next week, we have Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker. We obviously have the elites of the light heavyweight division, Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol on the last crescendo. We'll be here 8 p.m. the following, obviously the Sunday straight after, obviously putting the world to rights with our boxing opinions. So yeah, on that note, I am going to say au revoir. Base.
Peace.